It's Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern means Restaurant Expert Roundup. We are north of the border to good old Canada. We got the man that wrote this book, another one. He's a podcaster as well. We're going to talk about some non-negotiables in the restaurant space. We'll see you in a second. You know how I know I'd be a terrible criminal is that I'm so slow on clicking a button to play a video. I feel like there was a 10-second gap there. It's like I'd be bad at pulling the gun out if somebody was trying to mug somebody. So, Doug, introduce yourself to the internet audience.
The internet audience. Well, I'm Doug Radkey. I am the president of KRG Hospitality. And we are a startup agency for bars and restaurants and even boutique hotel properties and some entertainment venues as well. And basically what we do and what we've been doing over the last, 12 plus years now is just helping independent operators, just your normal, Joes coming in off the, from their neighborhoods who want to start their very first whether it's a bar, restaurant, boutique hotel, whatever it is, and helping them formulate the framework of going from idea to actually getting their property opened successfully, usually within, budget and within a good time frame as well.
Is that possible to be within budget and time frame?
If you do your budgeting correctly, yes. So that's, something I think we want to maybe touch base on a little bit today as well. But in essence, that's what we do. And over my career now, I've done over 250 of these strategy plans. I've helped open numerous bars and restaurants, so it's been an exciting journey, and I'm looking very much forward to sharing some of that knowledge with you guys today.
Love it. And by the way, when you said you're a startup agency, you're not a startup yourself. You are specializing in helping people as they start up. I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've been in business now over 12 years, working all over Canada, over the United States, Eastern Caribbean. We got some really exciting projects, and we've come a long way. We just started out with myself, and now we've got a team, we've got a large network, and doing all the different things that we do. And just like yourselves, the content getting out there, speaking engagement, books out there, we have a lot of resources available for everybody.
Now, how close is my Canada? Is that pretty close?
It's a little better than I think you did that the first time we had a call like a year ago or so. I think you might have improved a couple notches. Yeah,
okay, cool.
Must have been practicing a little bit.
So I know you as a podcaster. You got the Bar Hacks podcast. You've got the Hacking the New Normal book, and then you've got the Bar Hacks book
as well. Yeah.
But today, I don't want to talk about those. We talked about those before. And if you don't have the books, get on Amazon or get on his website. We'll show that later on.
Also available in hardcover now, just as of a few weeks ago. We improved from the soft cover to the hardcover as well. So those are available now as well on Amazon.
There you go, hard and soft cover. But today I want to talk about something that I've noticed. You talk about it a lot, and I've seen that it's the title of your presentations that you do at the shows. You were at a show this past couple of weeks. Was it? Were you in Chicago?
A few weeks ago, that was the Western Food Service Show in Los Angeles.
So you're out in LA, and you made a post that the non-negotiables are starting a restaurant. And a couple of reasons that caught my attention was, number one, I recently did a video, was things that I would not do if I owned a restaurant. And it was basically 5 different things I'm passionate about, but I see restaurants just ignoring it. And the other aspect what caught my attention was that we've got a plan. I don't know if I've told you this or not, but we have a plan in 2023 to start a restaurant called Starters. 3 milkshake flavors, 10 appetizers, 50s themed diner. And I'm not doing it because I want to start a restaurant. I'm doing it because I want to practice what we preach as a marketing company. I want to put in place my exact marketing plan of how I would 100% 6 months prior to that restaurant opening, what I would do day 1 to whatever half of 365 days is. And then what I would do is we launch the restaurant. But also another cool element of that, which I think is going to be unique for us, is that I want, as we hire, like we have an employee, Brooke, starting next week, an account management success coach.
Okay.
This time next year, or maybe the year after, I hope that when employees start with us, they start a 20-hour shift in the marketing company and a 20-hour shift in the restaurant. so that they can feel both sides of it so they can better serve our customers. But what I love about your title is I've got 51 things that, to me, when we open starters, these are the 51 things we're doing to market the restaurant, to capture customer data, to capture attention.
Right.
And so those are my non-negotiables.
Those are
Let's
your
talk.
non-negotiables. Now, ours are, even before you get to yours, the fundamentals that need to be in place, even to get to that marketing point. There's a lot of other elements that come into play, obviously, as well. And some of it could be whether, understanding the size of venue that you're looking at, the concept, the competition, how much funding you need. Are you going to a bank? Are you presenting this to investors? Getting all of that sorted out beforehand is super important. And, the question I always like to, I guess you can say, start with is, what's the failure rate of startup restaurants in the industry? Maybe this answer. Obviously it fluctuates a little bit depending on where you go and look for it, but there is kind of this like average number that is kind of out there, and that number is around 60% fail within that first 12 to 36 months.
Wow. And that's, to me, let's talk about that real quick. So 12 to 36 months. So I'm glad it was 12 to 36 and not like 3 months. But,
well,
that
could be shortened a little bit, sure.
One of the only legit startups I've been involved with is that we opened a gym back in 2013. I actually sold my stakes of it this past year. About 2013 to last year, I was a partner in gym. And when we opened it up, we were fortunate. We had 3 partners. I was the marketing side. One other partner was the funding side. And the other partner was the actual doing the damn work in the gym side. He was the one that wanted to train people and help people become harder to kill. And one of the things that was unique was, I remember we sat down, because every other time I did something, it's been bootstrapped. It's been unique. It's like, hey, we're going to just run and gun. We had other things happening. Is that Dwayne had said, hey, we're putting this amount of money in the bank. This is my part of the company. This is the startup cash. The business will run for a year if we do not make a penny. And I'm amazed the number of small business. I had a restaurant that reached out to me. It was last summer. So it was July of 2021.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, we just opened up in June. We need your help. Otherwise, we're going to be out of business next month. And I was like, well, June of 2020? Like what year? No, last month. I'm like, how did you open a month ago and now you're hurting? Like, what did you think was going to happen? The sons were going to go, and everybody was going to walk in your damn restaurant and hand you money?
Exactly, right. So that's definitely one of the key elements to planning, is to make sure you're going to have enough opening day cash flow, right? And and going back to that failing figure, and the framework that we have and that we use on a project to project basis here, I can confidently say that following this type of framework, we actually have a 0% failure rate between that 12 and 36 months period, right? So
that's strong.
Some things are out of your control, but some things are in your control, right? And planning and doing things the right way from a planning point of view, planning still holds the key to success, right? And that number is, like you just said, that's an impact impact number, right? To say 60% fail, but using this type of framework, we actually have a 0%. Now, obviously, some people might sell their restaurant later. Some things change. I can't control what people do 8-10 years down the road. But these plans to get them going is key to that early success for sure.
And that's huge. That's also understanding the cheat code. I heard Damon John one time. I was at an event Damon John was speaking at, and he said he paid a guy. He didn't say who it was. I kind of thought it might have been Warren Buffett, but he said, I paid a guy that's pretty well known, big in the business world. I paid him $1 million for a coaching session. And he said, my reason was because he had already been where I was. And like, I wanted to see there were some questions I had. And so to me, one of the biggest assets that small businesses can have, but a lot of them fail to use it, is help. And like, you look at that, like you just said that 60% of restaurants fail 12 to 36 months in, 0% that work with you fail.
Correct.
And obviously you've got a system, a process, you've got things figured out, but it's also the fact that they've got a guiding light. And I'll never forget this. There's a guy, I've seen him online, but he's getting huge online. His name's Alex Hormozy.
Okay.
And he sold his companies for like $80 million the last couple of years. I know him because he had a gym marketing company which he helped gyms called Gym Launch, and our gym used his company. And I'll never forget was he had this marketing program where it was $399 6-week challenge. You market to consumers, and it was like, hey, you pay the $399 if at the end of the 6 weeks you didn't accomplish this task, like we didn't help you get to this point, we give you your $399 back. And I was like, dude, like, how can we do that? Like, I mean, what percentage are actually going to fail? He goes, no, we created a system where they can't fail. Like they have to text the trainer every night their food they're eating for dinner. Right. They have to post something in the Facebook group every day for 90 days. They had all this different stuff. Actually, what 90s, whatever 6 weeks is, 36 days, 30, 40 days. And they had all this stuff. And I remember because once we did the first 2 6-week challenges, the people who weighed in every week, came to the gym 4 days a week, did the text message to the trainer, made the posts in the Facebook group, even the ones that didn't follow the nutrition exactly, the ones that did that had just done 90% more than they had done for 10 years. And so they lost the weight. And none of them wanted a refund because all of them were like, holy crap, like this worked. I need this for another 6 years versus 6 months. I'm imagining on your end, you're putting things in place. They're like, hey, this is the map. We aren't turning left or right here. We're going straight here because we turn left the next time.
Yeah, 100%. And that kind of, fits with when you're operating too. And here's another number that, is kind of well known in the industry as well. It's 4 to 6% average profit margin in the industry, right? That's ridiculous. That's so low. But there's only about 5 to 10% that are actually making over 15 to 20%, which is where you should be. So why is like 80 or more percent just being average, right? And it's those ones that are in that average percentage that we've been finding that do not have the proper planning and systems and marketing and, everything else, in place, right? So the question is always to the client, which side of this do you want to be on? Do you want to be average and, make some pennies? Or do you want to be on this like outstanding, excellent side where, that 5% are exceeding that, 15 to 20% profit margins, right? I'm sure you can guess how many people say, hey, I want to be be on this side, right? Yeah. So
it's just a matter of getting uncomfortable and going there.
Exactly, right. And it's not overnight success either. Obviously, with these plans and these non-negotiables that we're going to go over, like you still have to work. There's still execution. You still have to execute. And we can be there to help you, but it's still your business, your restaurant at the end of the day. But here's that framework, to follow and the accountability that comes with that as well, right? So that's definitely the key portion here. I just want to make sure that people understand that, like, just because you get plans doesn't mean, you're going to be successful, right? You still have to execute.
Okay, so let's go through. You got 3, 4, 10? What are you got a top 3 maybe?
I got a little bit more than that, unfortunately, but we'll go through those we got basically 8 different.
Okay, we got 8
negotiable plans, right? So, first one, feasibility study. All right. Second one is going to be a concept development plan. Third one is prototype drawings that go with that concept plan, your brand strategy plan, your marketing plan, your tech stack plan, your financial playbook, and then your business plan that outlines all of the systems and day-to-day operations and labor and menu and all the additional financials and accountability measures, basically. So those are the non-negotiable plans that we complete even before somebody's even looking to sign a lease on their first location.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. So this is an example I ran into recently. So there's a brand, I won't say the brand's name, but there's this brand that we ran across that was a client. He was a franchise, and apparently he was one of the early franchises. And I happened to see it at an event. I was in California. I'm walking down and I see, and what they would do is they put basically grilled chicken or deep fried chicken chunks in a waffle cone.
Okay.
Was the entire concept. Now, granted, it was delicious.
Sure.
Like, it was a really cool combination, but I saw it at this festival, and it turns out it was one of our clients. I'm like, oh my God. He's like, hey, Matt, we're one of your clients. I'm like, cool. I don't deal with all our clients, so I don't know them all.
Sure.
But I was really cool. Talked to him, loved it. I remember leaving there. I told my wife, I'm like, that's hard to believe that's a restaurant. Like, it's cool at a fair. I get it at a fair. Like, I would buy that all day long at a fair. It was delicious. It was a great product, but I'm not sure I'm going there every Thursday to get that.
Right.
And sure enough, about 2 months later, the guy closed his doors and just said, hey, consumers just didn't embrace it. And apparently there's other concepts that are closed like it. And that the company started, apparently, ironically, in an environment like festivals. And then, oh my God, we do all these festivals, do this.
Right.
There's just like some things that probably are that feasibility study. They could have.
Feasibility is so crucial. I don't know the exact numbers. Again, this is kind of overall business numbers that I've seen, but they say about like 80% of operating businesses have never done a feasibility study, right? So if you consider that on the restaurant side, again, that just goes to show how many, if you apply that percentage to restaurants, how many are actually operating that didn't complete, a market feasibility study to determine the viability of the idea, and looking at the market size and what people are gravitating towards, and potential, operating, startup costs and operating costs, and, how much traffic you need to come through the door, every day. And is that a realistic number compared to the size of market and the menu offering and everything else? Like, it's a huge puzzle piece, right? That we have to put all these pieces together, and it's so important to get all of these plans in place. So often we get phone calls from people, hey, I'm about to sign a lease. Can we get maybe started with you guys? And I'm like, don't sign your lease yet. Like,
let's
they're
talk
like,
first.
I'm about to sign a 2,200 square foot lease. I'm like, well, how do you know 2,200 is the right square footage? What if you only needed 1,200 to make a good living? What if it's 15? Like, you're wasting over 1,000 square feet, right? And how much is that going to cost you, right? So again, answering those kind of questions before you even get to that stage is so important for your financial portfolio as well.
And what I think happens, I'll say I think I know, because it's Matt Plapp has done this, is you get excited. Like the building I'm sitting in right now, and I'll tell you 2 examples of this, and you can convert this to the restaurant space, and there's some really good similarities. The building I'm sitting in right now, it's a 9,000 square foot building. We got an 1.5 acres of lot land. We're in the middle of Northern Kentucky. It's an unbelievable location. I bought this on a couple of days' notice. I saw it. I'm like, buying it. Well, at the time, I only had 1 employee that was in person. All my employees were remote, or even my local employees work from home because they wanted to work from home. Like Ashley had been working from home since 2011. Just because Matt Platt bought a building in 2021, it went like, hey, you got to work from the office now. And ironically, we had a corner office for her for like 6 months. She's finally like, I'm never coming in, right? I'm like, okay, we'll get rid of the office. But I bought the building, and one of the problems was I was so in love with I fell in love with it. I had the sketches, and I remember we were in here 6 months, me and Doug. And now there's like 28 people here, so it worked out. My vision was right. But the other side of that was about 2 months ago. I'm in the hunt for some commercial real estate investments, and I looked at a commercial real estate property that I liked on paper. But I remember telling Aaron, my realtor, I'm not getting emotional. I'm not getting married. And I went and I looked at it, and like the numbers on paper looked good. And when I went and investigated it and looked at it, some things caught my eye. And then when I made some phone calls and I had some analyzation of the data, I realized it wasn't the right place for our money. And so I didn't make a $12 million real estate purchase that might have been sexy and exciting. That would have been a pain in the ass in 4 years.
That's, you nailed it right there. And we're doing site scouting when we get past the planning stage, and we do actually start site scouting. And, we tell our clients the exact same thing. Do not get married to a location. There's a lot of still due diligence that still needs to be done to make sure that this is even still going to be viable for your business. We have to look at so many other elements as well, especially if it's like a first generation or even second generation restaurant, one that's either built or not built yet, and you got to do it yourself. There's a lot of other elements that we have to make sure that this site is going to be good, right? So again, having those questions prepared and ready, and so they can make quick decisions, is super important. And again, those are addressed in having these plans in place, right? So we're going through that exact scenario right now with a client, and he did get excited about a location, and unfortunately somebody else had already put an offer on it, right? And so he was like, I'm glad you told me not to get fully married to that idea, so
Yep.
I wouldn't be sitting here pouting for, a week after, right? So,
We've all been there.
it's definitely exactly, yeah, and it comes with, learning and experience to be able to offer that advice to people, right? So now as well, for yourself when you're looking at property, like you've already experienced that now, right? So, don't get married to a location. Do all of your due diligence first.
What about on the financial planning side? Like you talked to like the second, it was the second to last you talked about was the
Yeah.
financial aspect of it. And, you know, how do you know what that number is? Like if you're looking at a restaurant and you say, okay, I've got some, obviously I've got, let's say I had experience. I've worked in these concepts before. I know it's feasible. I've got a good piece of real estate. What kind of capital do you have to have prepared, or is there a number, a percentage you look
Yeah,
for?
I can give you kind of what we're looking at in terms of like average numbers right now. And anybody that is looking to start their own, first restaurant or even additional restaurants, doesn't matter. We actually do have a calculator on our website. It's like the only one that I've never seen anybody else put anything else like this out there. But if you go to krghospitality.com/calculator, and all you have to do is type in a square footage between 1,000 and 10,000, and it'll spit out a report of all of your startup costs. Obviously, it's going to fluctuate a little, but it's going to give you a good ballpark figure. So when we say second generation venue, so this is one that's was a restaurant previously. It already has some bones there. It's got maybe a hood system in there. It's got the washrooms and things like that. To convert it into what you want, you'd be looking at about $348 US per square foot.
So here we go. I got it on the screen.
Okay, perfect.
This is pretty cool stuff. I got to pull this thing up. Actually, let me make this full
Pretty
screen.
badass.
We don't need to see us. We'll see this because people can imagine.
So just type in like 1,500 into the little box there. And then
bam, 1,500 square feet.
How fast this works. Scroll down, and you've got lease deposits, utility deposits, all of your first month's lease, all that kind of stuff.
So you got your startup costs.
Everything that you need to budget for to get started. I even got contractor budgets down there when you scroll down even more. And then there's an approximate, revenue per location as well. So the total price and then ideal sales, ideal profit.
Wow, this is pretty cool. I haven't seen anything like this before. I mean, I've seen calculators, but not like this aspect. This is pretty neat.
Yeah, so we update that. We take all of our previous projects, take the averages, plug that in, and we update this a couple times a year.
And it's amazing. I'll tell you that the thing from a construction standpoint, like our office here, we redid it. Well, we bought it the last summer. I spent GCing it myself and having people do it. And some of the things you don't think, but like glass. My office, it was just we took an area that had like temporary, had half drywall walls. But I wanted to enclose it. And it was like, damn, it's $9,000 for this glass door and these glass windows and the framing. Yeah. I'm like, I got to get in the glass business.
So, yeah. And again, obviously every place is going to fluctuate a little bit, but it just gives you at least so you know what you're kind of getting yourself into here. But then if you're looking at a first, generation, building basically from scratch, you're looking at about $462 a square foot right now.
Okay. Well, that was cool. That's neat. I didn't know that was there. I appreciate you sharing that with us.
It's a great resource. And I can tell you, because we can see some of the back end input, the most popular sizes right now that people are looking at is under 2,000 square feet.
Okay. Yeah. So the biggest thing,
the smaller footprints, the smaller menus, simple operations, all that kind of stuff. That all comes with a smaller footprint and affordability, of course, as well.
Okay, so talk about two topics here. So we'll answer a question that somebody posted.
Okay.
Right in my wheelhouse. Dean LeBay asked, how important do you see iPhone storytelling to help new openings? Now, we have clients that come to us, not often enough early, but we'll get clients that say, hey, I'm opening a restaurant in 6 months. And we have clients of ours that say, I'm opening a new location in 3 to 6 months. And we have a blueprint we call the 90-day, because that's typical when we get it, but 180 to 90-day launch strategy. And for me, it all completely, ironically, it's almost like I planned this question, but I didn't. It revolves around iPhone storytelling. It's like, hey, take your phone, go live, go to the site, and talk about, hey, here's the shell. You can't see anything right now. It's just a bunch of aluminum studs and wires hanging. But talk about what's going to be there, why it's going to be there, what the vision is.
document that journey and get people excited. So then, when you do your soft opening and get things going, people, you talked about the guy earlier that's, a month in is already like losing money and things like that. Well, we probably didn't have proper, marketing and that was started beforehand. So there was all that excitement built up. So then you had a community built basically for the time that he opened, right?
Well, and the bad part with that example I gave earlier, that guy's a franchise. Like he bought into if it was a pizza franchise. And last summer, I remember he called me. I'm like, well, man, like this company gave you a franchise and your liquid assets can get you through a month. Like
right.
That franchisor needs to be shot because they should have told you, no, you're not ready for it.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And
like me going to look at a jet right now. Like, hey, I want to go look at a jet. My financial, Matt, you're not ready for a jet. So don't go look at one.
100%. Right. So, that's definitely all part of, one of the non-negotiables was a marketing plan. Right. So, what's involved with a marketing plan? Obviously, I don't need to preach you about it. You're obviously well adversed in that, but what we usually put together is, socio-demographic profiles of target customers. Find out those target market numbers. We built customer journey maps. So like right from original, people are trying to find you online to them, paying and leaving. What is that customer journey looking like? What's happening when they show up to the restaurant? What's happening when they open the doors and walk in? Who's interacting with them first? Is it a human? Is it technology? Whatever the case may be, just walking through that entire journey, putting together pre-opening marketing plans like we were just, talking about, creating that excitement and that community, and then have that 3, 6, 12-month plan for after you open as well. Obviously, you need to continue that momentum, right? So there needs to be a plan for that. So what is that plan? What's the budget to spend on, marketing and advertising and things like that, right? And just understanding the guest experience that you're trying to get across. What the question I still get these answers sometimes, like, what are you selling? And people are like, well, I'm selling burgers and fries. No, that's just a product. You are selling an experience. So what's the experience that you are going to sell, right?
You're selling date night. You're selling. I shared a post today. It was a memory from last year. This Mexican place that I went to in our area, I've been telling my wife about. I shared a post today and said, Christy, we got to go this weekend. She's like, I'm in. I'm not going because of the food's what gets me going there, but the concept is somewhere I can go spend time with my wife and have a conversation and have some smile.
So once you understand that and go into that framework and that mindset of understanding that, build that experience first and the revenue will follow, kind of thing. That's kind of a little phrase I use sometimes, like build that experience first. Right. And obviously your digital and marketing.
That's true across a lot of businesses. I think.
Oh, for sure.
I had, for a long time with our company, I was constantly, selling the result of the marketing as far as the results of actually how the marketing happens. And I later realized that my goal is not really that. It's to help the owner find their dream outcome. Like I had an owner the other day when we interview clients as an opportunity to work together. And I ask, what are your 3 biggest opportunities? What are your 3 biggest problems or hurdles? We have it on a sheet. And the guy afterwards said, well, my biggest hurdle and my biggest, I guess, thing to me is I want to finally get a paycheck. It's I left a career. I started this restaurant from a passion project. It's doing pretty good, but I'm not getting paid yet. And like, that's a stressor that can cause problems at the house and with marriages and in life. And at the same time, it's over and above getting paid. It's, I want to take my wife to Italy, or I want to have this boat and have this weekend house and not work 100 hours a week.
Right. Yeah. And that's, I think the other reasoning and essence of these non-negotiables that we like to kind of promote and get out there and for people to understand is, you can still live a life and own a restaurant if you have the right systems and plans in place, right? What we found is the more somebody is kind of intertwined with the day-to-day operations, maybe they're the bartender or they're the chef or general manager or something, and also the owner, the more obviously they're going to be on sites, and those 60, 70, 80 hour weeks start accumulating, and burnout and all that kind of stuff starts happening, right? So again, having these proper plans in place to allow you to run the business is super important. So you can still have that life. You can still have, vacations. You can maybe work 40, 50-hour weeks instead of, the quote norm that we seem to see in this industry, or previously at least. That's our framework, is always trying to get people to just work on the business as much as they might want to be the chef. And if they do, then we'll find somebody that can run the business part as well for them, right, as part of that system and package. So, it's all comes to, like I said, that full circle of putting all these plans together is not just for startup, but it's also, how to operate successfully, and having these systems in place, and the financial know-how, and what is happening with the brand on a day-to-day basis, and understanding your menu engineering, and different day parts, and your labor schedules, and having all of that stuff done and in place before you even, like I said, sign that lease, right? And have contingency plans in place. That's another thing. As part of the business planning and the financials. What if your startup costs don't or go up? What if there's a delay with that combi oven that you ordered that's coming in from like overseas? What are you going to do? Is that going to delay your opening? What are you going to do if your traffic is 25% less than what you anticipated? What are you going to do if it's 50% less, 75% less? Work out those scenarios, so then you're prepared. Then right away, okay, I need to do X, and get things, done. So I'm alleviating that pain for myself and my team and things like that as you're operating, right? So having those plans in place. And I think since the pandemic as well, and how places were not prepared for that financially, contingency plans are now so more, I think if they kind of came to the forefront now, everybody needs to have one. Probably before the pandemic, probably 90% of restaurants didn't have a contingency plan. And it showed when that happened, and they had to shut down in certain markets and things like that, right? Well, they didn't know what to do when 75% of their income is not coming in anymore. So now having a plan in place to understand what needs to be done is super important.
That's like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan till they get punched in the face. And
exactly.
Unfortunately, I don't think many of us could have had a contingency plan for a pandemic.
No, for sure. Not to that extent, but to the point of just having something prepared and a framework in your mind. Okay, something, whether it's, this is what I've also used. What if a hurricane comes or a tornado comes and you have to shut down for a couple of weeks in your area or something, or fire or whatever? Like, what are you going to do?
Well, and that's one thing my contingency plan, like when I was going out with that, was you're not going to know that a pandemic's coming or things like that. You're not going to know a fire, but you've got to have what ifs. Like, I always talk to clients before all this happened. I'll never forget the number of clients I say, dude, get your online ordering ready. Like, there's no reason in 2020 you don't have online ordering. Literally the week before the pandemic hit, I was arguing with a guy that's got 9 restaurants about how he needed to get on third party. I'm like, I'm not telling you to get on there because it's going to be the revolutionize to your business. It's a place to acquire customers' attention. They are already on there. Right. Why not be one of the options?
Get on there.
Why not wow that customer? Maybe you get them to come directly next time.
Exactly.
And sure enough, the minute the pandemic hit, he called me. He's like, okay, dude, how can you help me with my online order? And we don't do this stuff, but I'm like, my team will get on. We'll figure it out. We'll help you push some buttons, help you get things going. I'm like I wasn't telling you this because I had some genie in a bottle that I thought was going to happen, but there's certain things you got to have ready because
ready in multiple revenue channels, right? I think, restaurants, we used to operate with like 1-2 revenue channels. Now like 3-5 plus. Make it flexible for your customers to be able to buy from you from multiple different ways, online, in-store, curbside, whatever it is, gift card, everything. All right. Exactly. And that's where a lot of places got stuck when things went sideways. Right. So I think it opened the eyes of a lot of operators to make sure now they have that. But now for anybody new, making sure that this is all planned for ahead of time. That's why we call them the non-negotiables. Like, you have to have these in place if you want to be successful.
Awesome. I love it, man. This has been great. So if people want to see that awesome calculator and play with it, and I'm sure there's a lot of other resources there, and there's ways to reach out to you. krghospitality.com. Are you going to be at any shows? I know you said you're going to be at the Florida.
I got the
Restaurant
Florida show coming up. That was what's that? Early November, if
yeah,
I
in
recall.
Orlando.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to be at the CRNB show, which is the Canadian Restaurant and Bar Show. I think that's also early November as well. And then that's for speaking. That's probably it for this year. And then I got the calendar filling up already for next year. And things are finally back. I think the last time we spoke a year ago, we were still in like modified lockdowns and all sorts of stuff. So I'm glad that travel is coming back, and I'm getting back out there this year. It's been exciting.
Well, awesome. I appreciate your time. Appreciate you dropping some knowledge on us, and make sure you all get your non-negotiables ready to go, or Doug's going to come to your door with a baseball bat.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.